I don't think people understand the amount of internal conversations you have with yourself the first year as a convert. The doubts, the vulnerabilities, the fears, and sometimes your need to be authenticated by your new community. My first Ramadan, I was terrified. I didn't even know about fasting. I remember when I converted, the guy told me about it. He got scared. He thought I was going to leave Islam. I didn't know how to fast. It's just like a tempest of emotions and challenges. And for the first 3 or 4 months of my Islam, I'd just been watching what everybody else had been doing, how to pray, how to make wudu. No one really taught me. So going into this month, I had really no idea what was in front of me, and I was worried it wouldn't be acceptable to God, right, to Allah. Second was the community. It was a new community. Conversion was really like social suicide. I lost all my friends. That was my fault, really. And I didn't really understand all the cultures that were. I felt like I was in a religious Times Square. And then third were like my issues in my life. I still was into smoking a lot of marijuana. I was DJing in nightclubs. I was working on an album with some people that smoked a lot of weed, did drugs. I had a really beautiful girlfriend. I was worried as a convert. I remember, like, if I don't do this right, I'm gonna lose Islam. And if I don't do this right, I'm gonna lose all my friends. So I remember being at this really powerful crossroads, my first Ramadan. And I think that's why, the Prophet, I used to take benefit from his statement, it's the month of patience. It requires a lot of patience. One feeling that I had was like, get to the masjid, like go to the mosque. After class, trying to fast, going to school 40 hours, working 20 hours of classwork, and just trying to manage all of that. People like, yo, what's up, Big Will, man? You coming to the party? You gonna DJ the party for the alphas? You gonna DJ the party for the kappas? And my girl calling me on the phone, and I'm trying to explain, like, for the next 29 or 30 days. And the heart, who doesn't like to be around something they find attractive, So I think it was like this idea of having to give up certain things that I was really used to, and I enjoyed. So I just had this feeling like you got to go to the mosque every day for iftar, and that was a challenge because, I'm a white guy from Oklahoma, and just that first few days of just getting used to eating that spicy food, constantly being asked how do I convert when my parents Muslim. I don't think people understand, like, it's great that people have that interest, but personal issues are personal issues. Religion is very personal. So every night asking me about my conversion story actually made me very uncomfortable. Trying to deal with people speaking a different language around me and laughing, I thought, I was very young and immature, I thought they were making fun of me. So there were a lot of issues, and I just decided to go to the mosque and pray Taraweeh and try to read the Quran in English, and then also trying to just make small changes, incremental changes. And alhamdulillah, man, that helped me. That at the end of the month, I can't say that I came out perfect. I don't think that's right to tell people that, I came out better. I didn't come out perfect. I came out better, but that first Ramadan really ended up being a great blessing for me, and it was kind of like a catapult to push me to try to subtly improve myself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for the month of Ramadan. It was a great blessing, but it wasn't easy. At the age of 14, I was given this assignment by an English teacher to do a book report. So I went to the library, I found this book called Malcolm X, and I had no idea who Malcolm X was. This is way before the movie and the whole kind of iconic rebirth of Malcolm took place. When I started reading Malcolm, that was the first time that I've ever had to negotiate my whiteness. I thought it was a cool name because it rhymed. Malcolm X, rocking the deck, cashing checks, breaking necks, fools I wreck, it was like, an infinite number of potential rhymes you could do with that name. So I chose that book. I remember reading him and thinking, man, this dude is crazy, man. Like, how the heck he's gonna call someone a white devil? And you know, the way he talked about white people was something I had never seen before, or heard before. That, for me, was an awakening in my life about white and whiteness, the meaning of whiteness, white male privilege, even though I was young. And it wasn't easy. Like, Malcolm and I would spar, you know, and eventually I found myself really moved by his story. And I would say that really I had left Christianity probably when I was around that age, because I found a number of what I felt were unanswered questions and then contradictions within that tradition. And I would say really in the shadow of Malcolm, even though I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy, I think we are moved by people who are so committed to universal causes that they have a universal outcome and a universal impact. March 3rd, 1991 is really what caused me to start to look for the truth. That's the day where Rodney King was brutalized and the collective conscience of America for the first time was exposed to firsthand treatment of Black America at the hands of a power structure. People heard about it up until that time, and people had maybe read about it, but to actually see it, those agitating moments, right, that make us uncomfortable, we have really two ways to go. Either we're going to conform to the easy way, or we're going to stand up and address ourselves and be honest with ourselves. I was motivated by Malcolm, pushed, I would say, headfirst by what happened with Rodney King. And I was reading the Quran at that time in the restroom of my home, scared that my mother would find it. And I found that in Islam. I mean, the first or second verse of the first chapter says, "Praise be to Allah, the Lord of all things." You know, and God is not white or black or any color. And then in the back of the Quran, the last chapter is, "Say I seek refuge in the Lord of humanity." So the source of removing oppression was the Lord of all things, of all human beings.
I never did hate anybody hard. I do know that when I wrote that letter saying that there were white people in Mecca, it shook up a lot of Muslims, because most of the Muslims who follow Mr. Muhammad absolutely believed that it was impossible, physically impossible, I should say divinely impossible, for a white person to go to Mecca. And my trip there shattered that image, or that misconcept.
I'm dying. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When I think about death, dying, think about my children, my son, my daughter. I think a lot of times we think about dying, we think about missing the person who died. I think about missing my kids, my parents, my brother, teachers, friends, what they'll become, what kind of legacy are they gonna live through me? Think about the mistakes I made. Every day of Ramadan is a reminder of my own mortality. It's like screaming at me. You're gonna die. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Everything has to die. Kullu man 'alayha fan. Start out the day strong. Fajr, that's when you're young. Dhuhr, you get kind of weak. It's like middle age. Asr, you get like an elderly person. You know, by the time Maghrib comes around, body is shaking. I can't think straight. I have trouble working. And then you break your fast. I think about what Al-Hafiz Ibn Rajab said. Always stuck with me, that I fasted this whole life and I'll break my fast in Jannah like every single day of Ramadan. Reminds me of that mortality. With that in mind, you know, taking advantage of my children, especially you don't get to see them that much, man. Last time I saw my son, man, grab me, man. You know, the way your children grab you, when your children grab you and they don't say anything, but you feel they need you. You feel like a duality of emotions. You feel like empowered to serve them, but then I'm not the hero that they think I am. You know what I mean? I'm not really the hero that my kids think I am. I might be some of that hero. And so it's like you have this burst of kind of this dichotomy of you're infallible, but then you are aware of your own failures, weaknesses, man. So children are incredible, man. Yeah, it reminds you of who you are, man, and who you're supposed to be. I had 9,000 records, all in my room. I used to steal recycle bins in the neighborhood and use those to put my records in there because I couldn't find crates that could hold all those records. I started DJing when I was 11. You would walk into my room, there was 2 Technique 1200 turntables, Gemini mixer. It was something that was integral to my existence. I went and prayed Asr at this mosque in Oklahoma, and I had all this DJ equipment, and then you couldn't take 9,000 records with you, but the latest, greatest stuff. I didn't know how to pray really yet, so I was watching people pray and trying not to let them see me watch them pray. And then I know I'm going to DJ at this party, and it's like this tremendous sense of guilt. So I almost like ran out of the mosque, And this one brother, and he was like, man, what is that stuff in your car? It was like the question I didn't want anyone to ask me. I didn't know what to say. And I went to the party that night. The party was pounding, man. It was like, yeah, it was good, And then Maghrib is going out. So I'm trying to figure a way how I can pray and DJ at the same time. So I'm in the booth DJing, right? I found this extended remix of this song by Dr. Dre, right? And I remember being happy that this is the extended remix, so I can actually go make wudu and pray Maghrib. So as I'm going to the restroom, and here the irony of change starts to come out, right? Like, I'm happy I found this record so I can worship. The farther I get away from the place, the louder the bass gets. So the bass is still following me wherever I go. And I think that's symbolic of change. Like, it's very rare that you can just separate yourself from the mistakes. So I'm making wudu. And again, when you're a convert, wudu is basically like a part-time job. You just don't go in there and like, it's not like, a Shaolin temple move that you can do quickly. And I remember while I was praying, I heard people dancing to the chorus. I would have moments where like I'm in the prayer and then that remix is pulling me out. So I'm like struggling to focus and getting pulled out to the beat, struggling to focus in prayer. And then there's like a really an infinite number of energies because I'm just struggling to pray right, let alone to have like focus in prayer, like just making sure I pray right. And in that little 3 or 4 minutes, that really is life, right? Very rarely do we amputate ourselves from our evils, but our evils somehow follow us or are things that we want to change. Islam is an event, but Islam is also a process. Very rarely can we completely change everything. We can amputate everything. In fact, sometimes that's more harmful. But adapting and realigning things and negotiating things and improving things, I think really is more in line with faith and submission than just complete amputation, either this extreme or that extreme. Explaining Ramadan to my girlfriend was difficult. Been together for a few years, prior to my conversion, and then just sitting down with her, trying to explain to her, like, I'm not gonna eat for 30 days or 29 days, I'm not gonna drink. Why would you not eat or drink, man? Like McDonald's got the new McRib sandwich out. I can't eat pork either, baby. It's just like a difficult situation. And then, of course, the physical aspect of it already being prohibited in Islam, and using that really to distance myself from the forbidden, that was tough. My family, my mother and my father, man, South. Dinner time in the South is like key, for families, at least 3 or 4 times a week. No restaurants, eating at home. Mom was cooking and telling her, like, I can't eat with you. And explaining to my mother that this is something that Christ did. It's something that's in your religious tradition. We just do it a little differently. Co-workers and my friends, I went hard. I just abandoned everybody, even a girl. And it's weird, when I go back and visit people in Oklahoma, one of the things that I hear from some of the homies is like, why'd you disappear, man? I think sometimes when I converted, it was in an era where you just cut everything out. My parents, I didn't even invite them to the mosque or to Eid. There was no seating at the Eid. If I could go back and talk to myself and talk to those people, because at that time, admittedly, I don't think I knew really what Ramadan was. There wasn't a lot of information out there, but I would invite people that were close to me to take part in the month with me. And I'm sure, Allah will soften the hearts. If Allah can soften the heart of that biker in Phoenix, what about my girlfriend, my boys, my parents? Ramadan is really about stepping back. The word fasting means to stop in Arabic, right? Samat al-Shams. Stop and turn down the desire for this world and turn up the desire for the hereafter. Every Ramadan, we create a greater spiritual capacity because we're staying away from the permissible. So if we can stay away from the permissible, then it should be easy to stay away from the haram. So I would remind myself that fasting is about refraining from food and drink, and all of those things, refining the character in order to create a stronger relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I slipped. Yeah, first few years of Ramadan, for me, were really like someone trying to juggle too many things, you know what I mean? Like, remember the nightlife, social scene, all those things, man, it's like, call you. The sweetness of this life, sweetness of next life, that philosophy works. I think in that stage, you were trying to like peel away. So it was tough, man. Halfway through the month, 2 weeks in, man, I'd start missing, smoking weed, missing going to the club, missing, certain aspects of my life to females. It was very difficult trying to peel out of the way. And I recall like a statement, very powerful, a statement of Ibn al-Qayyim that everybody sits between 2 adhan. There's 2 callers, it's a caller to what's good and a call to evil. And it was good your second, third year, when you started learning how to read the Quran, you were able to busy yourself, replace. Sheikh Mamdouh was a scholar from Egypt, told me, replace the evil with good. So, third year, really second year, made those changes. Instead of dancing in the club, Tarawih. Instead of, trying to talk to girls, I talk to Allah. Islam is a process of becoming, there's these moments of small epiphanies, a small growth. It was a struggle, first 2 or 3 years, missing that lifestyle, missing hanging out, wasting time, Replace the bad with something that's good, because something that's vacant, you'll miss it. So the Quran was crucial. Second, third year learning Quran, busy in trying to read. Bismillahi you know, taking a long time to read properly, praying Taraweeh instead of dancing in the club, hanging around good people instead of hanging around bad people. Just little changes, man. At that time, they were like mountains for you. But you look back, very simple changes. That's something that you got to carry with you for the rest of your life. Like little changes can have massive impact. The month of Ramadan is really about incremental changes.